Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Welcome to episode 103, Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. We are still in quarantine. I'm sure wherever you live, if you're on planet Earth, you're also in quarantine. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for still being loyal and watching this and listening to this. If you're a Patreon subscriber who hasn't canceled their subscription because of financial needs and the lack of extravagance lately, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you guys. If you're just listening for free on iTunes, thanks for being here. I hope that you tell a friend about it. This week's episode, I was able to finagle some of my Major League Baseball friends, a couple of them, to pop on here and do an interview. The reason that this is good or special is because I love Major League Baseball. I'm missing Major League Baseball. And I'm also, it's so difficult to get a baseball player to do a podcast. Because Major League Baseball doesn't like it when their players go on these things. The players union doesn't like. Nobody likes it when these baseball players go on and talk. That's why they take classes to learn how to not say much, because it's all risk, no reward for them. These guys they don't. They're not being paid to be on the podcast, but they might say something that could get them in trouble. So I really do appreciate them coming on and answering the questions as honestly as they can and they're allowed to. I have been good friends with Kyle Freeland from the Colorado Rockies for years now. He is one of my favorite dudes. He's so nice. His girlfriend is amazing. Their friends are amazing. The friends that he brings to my shows that I get to meet through him are amazing. So super excited. When I needed a guest, we were already texting back and forth and occasionally FaceTiming. And so I said, hey, how about you jump on my podcast tomorrow? And he was like, hell yeah, I'd love to. So super excited that we were able to make this work. Again, the sound quality is not great because this is via Zoom, and that's just how these are going to be until the lockdown is over, until I can get a producer in here or a sound engineer and these kind of things. This is just going to have to work for now, and I appreciate you guys, and I thank you in advance for bearing with the lack of technological advancements during all this time. Not advancements, the technology's whack right now is what I'm getting at. It's very fun. He is he's quarantined right now with one of his buddies so they can stay fresh for the season. David Peterson, who plays for the New York Mets. So he's on the episode. Kyle Freeland's on the episode, and we go back and forth. I get to ask him all my silly, naive baseball fan questions. I also get to kind of ask some stuff that maybe you'd be interested in if you don't know much about baseball. And I'm a 90s baby, which showed in this episode by the references and the names that I was bringing up. They're a lot younger than me, so they're bringing up names. It's kind of fun. But I hope you guys enjoy. Let's just get right into it. Enjoy the episode. What's up, David?
How are you?
Hi.
Hey, you're going to be so mad at me.
Why?
Not you, Kyle. I sent the video of her striking you out on that wiffle ball to this Instagram account.
Dick.
My God.
What didn't show is the next door was me clipping her, taking her
But he
yard.
told me,
You got to send me that.
He said, throw me one that I can hit. Okay, ask for meatballs.
Well, you threw some outside junk and he chased it, so that's his fault.
So that's his problem, exactly. Come here, Henry. Dogs, get out of here.
By the way, thank you for doing this. I'm telling you, actually, we'll just jump right in. I'm excited to have you guys because I know a lot of pro athletes, and every time we hang out, every time we golf, anytime we play catch or do whatever, they tell me all these great stories, and it's exciting, it's the best. And then I'm like, I gotta have you on the podcast. They're like, we can't do that, Isn't the culture of pro sports, especially when you're like a younger guy, is like lay low, don't say anything that could get you in trouble. You don't want any kind of controversy. And don't they have you guys like take like press classes and things like that?
Yeah, like there's actually like a massive one that they do. I think it's in Washington every year for like top prospects or guys who are in the big leagues and are really young and need to learn how to like address media. Like they have a whole conference for them, and then usually teams will set up their own kind of little meeting like for like an hour or so to kind of walk younger guys through on how to address media and speak to media the proper way.
Yeah, which I mean, it really makes all the interviews so boring. Like so boring. And like I don't know how many times I've heard like one of the sports people, I don't want to name names, but you know, I'm friends with some of the reporters also, and they'll ask some question that's just trash. They'll be like you know, like there was a first baseman for the Cardinals who got like this great like walk-off double, but before that he was going 0 for 3. He was 0 for 3, or he was 1 for 4, sorry. And the 1 for 4 was him getting a walk-off double. And Aaron Andrews just goes, hey, you know, you were playing really horribly, and then when they needed you, you came through. And it's like, what? Like, what kind of trash is that question?
Thanks for that confidence booster.
Yeah, and then when he answered the question, he did it very, like, professionally. He was just like, yeah, man, you know, when I needed to turn it on, I turned it on. And I was like, good for him, because I would have been like, listen, you little rat, you don't talk to me like that. Like, you know how hard baseball is? Like, I don't know. I get so mad about it. Like,
yeah, I think sometimes they kind of lose sight of how hard professional sports can be.
It's insane.
And kind of those like comments and questions kind of slide out where you kind of look at them like, seriously?
Yeah. And that's why I love those moments, like when a player just like at a press conference will just like not lose it, but just be like, man, what? That's a garbage question, or that like, what are you talking about? Like, I like when they call them out on that kind of stuff.
The Bryce Harper one.
Yeah.
Like when he was called up and they're in Toronto.
The clown question, bro.
Like that's like the perfect one.
I know. It's a great response. The only bad part is, and you know, we can edit this out, just so you know, if you guys share anything that you're like, hey, before you post that, edit that one part out. That's good. This is not one of those I got you kind of interviews. But I remember thinking Bryce Harper was the coolest guy in baseball. He seemed like the Darth Vader of baseball. The long hair, him fighting with Papelbon in the dugout. He seems to rattle people. He's got the jewelry. He can hit a ball 500 feet. He seems like this like cool sports villain in a way. Yeah. And then I found out he's like Mormon and like doesn't drink, and he's had like the same girl in his life since he was like 13. And I was like, this isn't my guy.
Thought the rabbit hole went deeper than that.
Yeah, I thought he was like this. He's actually like a sweetheart who goes to like church every. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, everything I've heard about him, I've never met him, but everything I've heard, is he's a very quiet guy, and he like kind of is reserved, but like on the field, like he like shows how he plays. Yeah, I actually have a pretty hilarious story of when I first saw Bryce Harper play baseball. It was when he went to junior college that 1 year, so we could like get in the draft a year earlier. I was with my high school down in Las Vegas doing like a round robin tournament, and they were playing Salt Lake City Community College, which one of the guys who had graduated from my high school was playing for that team, and they had a doubleheader at Las Vegas. And we went down there to watch them play, and Bryce Harper's team's on offense. They're hitting, and they make Salt Lake's team makes a pitching change. Bryce Harper walks on deck. He's due up second, and he's like starting to time for the pitcher. I swear to you, he turns to the dugout because we're standing right there. He goes, might have to take this guy deep. And we're like, are you kidding me? Like, is this guy for real? Like, we knew who he was. Like, he was already on Sports Illustrated. And sure enough, this dude steps up to the plate. First pitch hits a missile off the wall for a triple.
I love stuff like that. Just straight called it. When I was in high school, we had a guy, he was a giant. He was literally a giant. I know you guys are like big dudes. You're like 6'6", but this guy was like this way. Like everything. He wore sweatpants every day because there was no pants that fit him. He ended up being like a fullback for the Saints and the Rams. Mike Carney's his name. He was like a legend in our town. And I've got like a billion funny stories about this guy that were like, we would have to laugh behind his back because he would beat our ass. But one of the like, one of the things about Mike Carney is I was in biology class with him, and our teacher's going around and like giving our papers back, and then he puts a paper, it's like an F in front of Mike Carney, and he goes, he says, "Not your best work, Mr. Carney." And then he keeps going and handing the papers out, and Mike Carney balled it up and he threw it off the back of the teacher's head, and the teacher turned around, he goes, "I'm going to the NFL," and we were all like, oh, and then the teacher like lost his mind, threw him out. It was like this whole big deal, right? But why I love the story is because he was right. He did go to the NFL. It's like, screw you, Mr. Green. He called his shot. Like I just love like those kind of moments.
Yeah. I actually know like similar to that. It hasn't been verified, but I've heard the story from multiple people. When Troy Tulowitzki was at Long Beach State, his junior year before he was drafted, it was like during finals, getting close to the end of the baseball season, where they're fighting for, top spot, fighting for, to win a conference, everything like that. And I heard he went into one of his finals, sat down, blew through the final in like 5 minutes, just circling answers, didn't know, went down, turned it in, was leaving, and the professor's like, whoa, you can't just do that in my class. You can't just fill it out and just leave and like hope for the best. And apparently Troy Tulowitzki was at the door when the teacher said this to him, and he looks him dead in the eye and he goes, "I'm batting 350, meat," and walks out.
The best. I love it so much. And he's right. I feel like that's like we live in that society. Like if you can do that, so like I don't need LeBron to know biology. I don't need that. Like he's not gonna use it.
Yeah, and sure enough, like Troy Tulowitzki got drafted in the first round that year and went off.
Oh, that's the best. Wait, so you sent me a bat, which I love, and I've like I wanted to ask you guys because you're both pitchers. Why in baseball you guys have to hit forever? I'm sure in Little League you had to hit and you pitched, and then you get to like a certain age, like junior, high school, you hit and you pitch, and then you get to a certain age, and I don't know how you guys' careers went. I don't know like what that looks like to become a Major League Baseball player, but at some point they're like, all right, you have to focus in on this, and now you're just a pitcher. I know you hit both because you have to for the National League, but like, why is like? Were you guys good hitters when you guys were coming up? And two, do you wish that you could do both all the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we could answer that differently. I hit in high school when I was really good.
Okay.
Doesn't say much for the Denver Public League, but I was a monster at the dish, and then got to college and I was a pitcher only. And like I even tried being a two-way, and my coach was like, "Yeah, no, you're just gonna pitch." I said, "Okay." So like I didn't pick up a bat for 3 years, then I got into pro ball, and everyone's throwing 90 plus with throwing some wicked stuff at you, and then it just gets to a point where like, okay, hitting is actually really hard, right? And you actually like respect hitters for the guys who can bat 300 over 162 games.
Yeah.
Same way. It was like I hit in high school on and off, but nothing super consistent. And obviously pitching was my strong suit, and went into college, and then we had the DH, so that kind of shut everything down. And then finally this year got back to Double-A and had to start hitting again. It was weird taking a couple years off and then getting back in there and doing all this stuff to get ready to try and hit professional pitching.
Well, it's weird that but don't you think? All right, so like then what you're saying is the way you guys plateaued with hitting is the way like most athletes just are in general. Like I plateaued in like high school. Like I was playing against guys who you knew were gonna get that were gonna like move on to at least college or maybe even minors if they're lucky. And I remember being like, oh, I'm not that good. These guys are really good, and I'm garbage time. Like it's totally different because I was good for a certain age. Like like it kind of plateaued. And you're saying that's what your hitting did is like your hitting plateaued. But if they would have kept training you to hit, don't you think you could play pro as like or maybe not?
I don't know. That's a good question. I've thought of that before. Like what if I wanted to continue to be an outfielder like through college and possibly get drafted? Like would I be able to handle it and hit? I don't know. I honestly don't know, because that first time in pro ball when you hit, whether you're in like Double-A, Triple-A, or the big leagues, and you see someone pump 95 past you, you're like, yeah this sucks. I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
In high school, I yelled at by my coach so hard. Some kid was throwing 90, and I just went to the play. I was always like the funny guy in the dugout. Like I was like Ray Ordonez. Like I could field anything, and then I go 0 for 5, and so like this dude was just throwing rocks. I mean, literally, like the first pitch, I didn't even see it. It just hit the catcher's mitt, made a sound I'd never heard before, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with that. And then the second one came in also fast. It was like when Randy Johnson threw to Wade Boggs. I was just like looking at it, like I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And the third one came through. He strikes me out looking on 3 pitches, all 90 at least. And then I turned around and I went like this to the bleachers, like where all the parents and girlfriends and everyone's standing. And they all laughed because I was like, that's too good. And then I got in my dugout and my coach just lit me up. Like, you think this is funny? You're going to go down. You didn't even swing. We at least swing at this shit. Like, what are you making? You're making everyone laugh out there. And I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. I couldn't see it. It'd be more embarrassing if I swung. It was fucking humiliating.
Yeah, I had the same thing. After my freshman year of high school, I faced Kevin Gosman, and I'm just standing there this freshman. He's about to go off to LSU. High drop. He's going to play in the big leagues and all that. And I saw 3 pitches, 93, 94, 95 right by me, and I'm just same thing. I looked at the dugout. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think back to like the two-way thing. I think society kind of has played a point of like when we were growing up, I feel like we played 3 or 4 sports, like however many sports you could fit into your schedule, you played. Sure. And then now I feel like there's a lot more specialization. There's kids transferring to just one sport and really focusing on that at a lot younger age than we did, and even people before us. Because you look at the two-way guys or 2-sport athletes or two-way guys throughout history, and it's kind of the numbers have died down, and there's that select few.
That athleticism isn't the same anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's why Ohtani is like so special, or he could be. Like if you could find, like the guy was injured pitching wise, and he was still hitting like 300 something. It was like, how is that possible? So he could be very awesome for baseball, but we'll see. So then, so since you guys are both pitchers, this is when I used to collect baseball cards as a kid. There was a certain baseball card that on the back it always said, what's your least favorite player to face and what's your favorite player to face? And I collected those cards just because I loved that question. So the questions for you guys, your favorite batter to face and your least favorite batter to face. And also I can get the numbers up pretty quick. I want to see what you think, and then we'll see.
Okay. My least favorite batter to face is Justin Turner.
Really?
With the Dodgers. He will.
Because he's ugly, or because how he plays against you?
No, not because he's ugly. But he's just annoying. He will foul off every single pitch and just wear you out to a point like, dude, just get like, here's a fastball, get your single. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty good clip off me. I want to say he's probably hitting around 500 off me.
Oh wow.
My favorite person to pitch to. Oh, that's a tough one.
Like, there's never like a guy that steps to the plate and in your head you're like, dude, I got this guy's number.
Javi Baez.
Javi Baez.
Yeah, there's actually a pretty funny clip. I think it was like pre or post 2018 wild card, and someone asked him, Javi, is it upsetting that you were hitless against Kyle Freeland? You're 0 for 6. And he looks the reporter dead in the eye and goes, thanks, I didn't know I was 0 for 6.
Yeah, like he's been.
I'm like, yeah, like I've kind of had that dude's number like for 3 years, so it's great.
I love that. Oh, I love that. What about you, Dave?
I mean, what I have to say, it's always fun, like facing guys that are rehabbing and stuff that come down. And I've faced some guys, but I think one guy that I've had some good battles with since I've been in professional baseball has actually been Conforto, like during the live at-bats and stuff like that. We've gotten the best of each other, so I'm kind of glad he's on my team because I left hurt ball last spring training, and he took it over the pavilion in right field. And I was just I mean, yeah, I'm lucky to have that guy on my team instead of.
Absolutely. Wait, so that's the worst. Who's the best?
I don't know. That's a tough question.
When also they might hear it and then go, "Oh, this guy think he likes facing me, huh?"
Yeah, he thinks he's got my number.
Well, on that Leaf set that I was talking about, like almost like 40% of them were like, "We hate Nolan Ryan. That's the guy we hate, like pitching or like hitting against for
That
sure."
makes sense. I wouldn't want to face that guy either.
Which makes sense. I mean, he's gonna throw it. Like even if you can hit it, it's like scary to get that. Like you get pitch inside to most of these fuckers.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he's intimidating.
Yeah, he would just try to rowdy it. He's an old dirty Texan. I love it.
Blood dripping down his chin.
Yeah, he does what he wants. I mean, the guy I had Robin Ventura on. He's like a good pal of mine that like I've recently friended in the last like few years. Actually, I was trying to get you guys to come drink with us in Arizona or to come hang out at the hotel when
Oh, right, yeah.
for the Holiday Classic.
Yeah.
Me and Robin Ventura we just spent the whole time just hanging out, and I was asking him all these old baseball stories. But he was like, he said when Nolan Ryan hit him, the rule was in the dugout, like Nolan Ryan or Robin Ventura is like a friendly guy. Like that was very out of character for him to fight anyone. But the rule was in the dugout, it was getting chippy, and they're like, hey, if anyone hits you, whoever gets hit, you gotta go. You gotta go fight him. That's the rule. And they didn't know it'd be Nolan Ryan, and he didn't know he'd hit Robin Ventura, but Robin Ventura gets hit, and Robin Ventura said right when he turns and he like throws his helmet down, it's him going, damn it, I've got to go fight. I've got to go fight. It's like him going, I don't want to do this. And he regrets doing it too for obvious reasons.
Oh, man. He was pissed he had to go fight him. Not that he got hit. That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's going, shit, I didn't want to run up on
I want to fight this guy.
legend. Also, like, I think he was like double his age or something like that.
Yeah.
Was that the one where he put him in the headlock?
Yeah, and he just gives him the crank. And, like, yeah, like it's funny because all my friends were like, hey, if you ever meet Robin Ventura, like, don't ask him about that. And I was like, I'm going to definitely ask him about that. Like, I'm going to wait.
Makes me want to ask him more.
Yeah, it's like just such a
Amazing.
legendary. Like, and if you, like, Google, like, I think Robin Ventura has almost more Grand Slams than anyone in, like, baseball. And he even had, like, a walk-off Grand Slam for the Mets in the playoffs. But, like, the number one thing you Google is just gifs of Nolan Ryan just giving it to Robin Ventura. It's like that'd suck to be what you're known for.
Oh, he's getting his ass beat. That's awesome.
This is the worst. All right, so here's the next question for you guys. When you guys were kids, what was the team you rooted for? Because it must, I mean, I always think it must suck. I'm a big Mariners homer and all that stuff. But if I, like, was even remotely good enough to play baseball, I'd probably get, like, drafted by the Orioles or something. And then I'm like, shit, I'm wearing the team that I never really had any feelings towards. I know Kyle's, like, you've kind of had a blessed thing with that. But
Yeah.
what team you rooted for when you were kids?
It's an easy question for me. Obviously, the Rockies. I grew up 15 minutes from the stadium. Went watching the team, growing up, like knew all those guys. But another team I was very fond of was the Giants. My dad was a huge Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonds fan. So like just like being that dad's son of following his footsteps and what he likes and everything like that. I think that's where I kind of like I started loving Barry Bonds. I started doing research on Barry Bonds on the San Francisco Giants. So that was like kind of another team that I adopted. Like I enjoy watching these guys because my dad has taught me a lot about them.
Yeah, Barry Bonds was a beast, dude.
Yes,
Seriously.
Like one of my favorite players. I think that like that steroid witch hunt, which, there's a lot of people that go both ways on that. But like if you go to what's the name of the San Francisco Giants park?
It's now Oracle Park.
Oh yeah, Oracle.
It used to be AT&T.
That's what I'm thinking of. So if you go to now Oracle, you can find Jeff Kent's name written on things. You can find like JT Snow has a bunch of like literally, if there's a Giant who got a double, he's somehow memorialized in that stadium. There is nothing of Barry Bonds.
Yeah, no.
It's a travesty. Like, sure, he did drugs like everyone else in the 90s baseball. Like, they all did some steroids. But dude, you can't just pretend Barry Bonds didn't exist. Like, I mean, he was so stinking good, and there's no trace of him ever being a Giant.
Yeah, I mean, he did what he did playing half his games in San Francisco. Have you ever been to that park?
Yeah, it's insane.
To hit a home run there as a lefty is absurd.
It's freezing cold. The wind's coming in. Like, it's a far right field. It's a high right field, too, I think, right?
Yeah,
it's a high right field brick. Down the line, I want to say it's like 315, 320, but it shoots out very quickly. Yeah. And it's not easy to I mean, you got wind whipping off the bay coming straight from right field. Like, how he was able to do what he did there is incredible.
Yeah. Also with like 600 walks a season. Like, it's insane how, like, the number, if you'd have had to pitch to him for every time that dude got walked, which is kind of like Frank Thomas too, but like if you would have just had to have pitched to him, the dude probably would have had like 100 home runs in a season. It was insane.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what he would have finished up with if they didn't walk him as much as they did. And like you said, he did the steroids and all that, but at the same time, like, he still had to have the hand-eye coordination and still make contact with the ball and hit the ball solid. Like,
yeah, I could take steroids all day. I'm never going to hit a home run in a major league. I mean, well, actually, maybe a home run, but I'm never going to be able to do it competitively, like in a major league baseball game. Like, I could be jacked. They act like he's the Chris Benoit of baseball, like just erasing him. It's like, give the guy a break. He's one of the greatest baseball players. He was a 40-40 player before steroids.
Yeah.
I mean, Alfonso Soriano was a 40-40 player with steroids. Jose Canseco was a 40-40 player with steroids. And definitely A-Rod was a 40-40 player with steroids. So Barry Bonds is like the only guy doing that before. So you could argue the only guy. I don't know. Wait, so which team did you root for growing up, David?
I was a fan of the Red Sox, and then I moved to Colorado when I was 12. And I kind of that was like when the Rockies were in the World Series and in the playoffs. And so I kind of fed off of that buzz of where I was living and went to some of those playoff games. And I mean, there's nothing like an MLB playoff atmosphere, the energy that's in the park and stuff like that. And to see those fans that obviously were waiting for their time in the World Series and stuff was pretty freaking cool to cheer for.
And also, it's funny, I've taken the tour of Coors Field a bunch of times because I think like Coors Field has some of the most interesting stuff. Because I'm like one of these fans. Like, I love a mascot. I love a gimmick. I love that you guys found dinosaur bones when you're like excavating. I love that like Blue Moon beer was made in your guys' stadium, and the guy just like, this beer tastes delicious. I'm gonna go get rich off of it. Like, there's so many great things about you guys' park. But one thing I found very fascinating is the way Oracle Park pretends Barry Bonds didn't exist because of steroids is the way Coors Field pretends steroids were never a thing. Like, if you look at every photo that's like framed in like all the areas that you walk underneath, it's like Vinny Castilla was the greatest baseball player of 1994. And Dante Bichette was a machine for 5 years. It's like, I don't know, man. I think that steroids kind of played a little like you think the big cat Andres Galarraga would have had 40 home runs in a season without that nice steroid pop. I don't know. It's just a kind of a fascinating tour.
The Big Street Bombers were some large human beings. So Vinny Castilla is actually, he's like assistant to the GM. So he's around us all the time. Like, he's in the
nice.
single day, helping out where he can. This dude is still massive.
Really? I didn't know he was big.
He's a bear.
Really? Well, and that makes sense. I mean, Larry Walker's huge. I know that Dante Bichette is huge. I've never seen Andres Galarraga in real life, but I imagine he's, if in those images he's as big as those guys. And Vinny Castilla looked like the smallest one of those four.
Yeah, he's jacked.
He's jacked. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And also, when Coors Fields first opened, they weren't doing the thing where they whatever they do with the baseballs to make sure that it's fair. Yeah, they weren't doing that.
Yeah, Humidor came in 2000.
I want to say it was like early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. And I believe they didn't notify MLB about it, so I think they got in a little bit of trouble.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you tell my viewers that are going to like hear this or watch this, like, what do they do to the baseballs to make it fair? Because I don't really know much about it. I saw the big machine. They explained it to us, but you would know better than me.
The whole idea behind it, I believe Arizona has one as well. But the whole idea behind it is, you know, a baseball up in thin air when it doesn't have the moisture it has at sea level, and everything like that, the ball will harden. The leather will get harder. The seams will tighten, and the entire ball will become harder. So obviously that is helping out offense incredibly. And so the humidor is kind of to help the pitchers a little bit. I don't think it does a thing, because by the time we get those baseballs and they're rubbed up in the mud is turned to dust because it's so dry.
Oh,
so
wow.
that makes the ball even slicker, and the ball is already as hard as a rock. So I don't really know if it does do anything. But I mean, it's there in place, and our baseballs are in there.
But that's interesting that you said it, because that would make, if I'm a pitcher, you guys are both pitchers. If I'm like a pitcher and I'm like looking to sign a contract somewhere, and I have an offer from like a free agent from like St. Louis and Colorado and like say the Yankees or something, why would I want to go play in Colorado? Like if like that's going to affect it for sure for your home games, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different ways for, you know, free agents to attack that. You know, one obvious reason is money.
Yeah.
But I think there's pitchers out there, and I've actually talked to Wade Davis about this. Our closer is, some of these pitchers, they want that challenge.
Really?
They hear like, oh, no one can pitch in Colorado, like your ERA's on a balloon, and I've like spoken to Wade about it. He's like that was kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to sign with Colorado, is because one, they gave me a nice healthy offer, and two, like I wanted to prove that you can have success as a pitcher in Coors Field. They want to take on that challenge.
Right.
So I think that also plays a part in that. You know, some people may not see. Some people see like, oh, we just signed there because they gave him the most amount of money.
Right. That's how I do all my deals. You know, for comedy clubs, I just go wherever they give me the most money.
Yeah.
You think I want to go to Buffalo? I don't. But if those creeps want to laugh, if they got the money, I'm going to go there. That's how it works. I don't want to challenge. I'm not like, let's see Marco Island, Florida for $5,000 less. I'm not doing that. No, I don't. I go where the money's the highest, but I'm not a pro athlete.
Littleton, Colorado.
Yeah. So you kind of answered, you said Barry Bonds, but that was your dad's favorite player. Who were you guys' like favorite players growing up?
I mean, for me, it was it's kind of weird, because the guy that I looked up to the most and admired the way he went about his business and played the game was Jeter.
Oh, interesting.
And so obviously being a lefty and being a pitcher, a little different like path, I guess. But I just always admired the consistency that he had. And obviously he was the captain of that team for a long time for a reason.
Yeah.
I think he just went about things the right way when he played the game. And yeah.
I've always been famously hard on Derek Jeter and Cal Ripken Jr. because I used to call Cal Ripken Jr. a C+ student with perfect attendance. But I've looked at the numbers and I think I'm wrong. I think he was like a B+ player with perfect attendance. Because I mean, he won a home run derby. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And I also didn't know that he won a World Series. Like, I think all those things happened before I was like born. So I was like, or not born, but before I was like watching closely, before the internet and shit. And so, yeah, I didn't know that. And then also Jeter, who was very good, and, you know, no disrespect to favorite player, but I was always like, he got to come up like as a Yankee. Like, it must be pretty great to be – they always have to pitch to you because, like, they can't just walk you to go to the next guy. Like, you're going to get all the pitches. Like, Scott Brocious hit 300 on the –
yeah.
So I remember always thinking, like, that's a pretty good position to be in as opposed to having to go play for, like, you know, the Phillies in the 90s or something, maybe, or the Royals or something. Yeah,
there was never, like, with the years that Jeter was there, there really were few years where there was any breaks in the lineup.
Right.
Like, I can back off a little bit here. No, it was pedal to the metal on every single move.
We were watching MLB Network the other day, and they were doing this, like, flashback stuff that they're doing, and they showed us, I think it was
96.
I think it was like 2004.
Oh yeah, the Red
And
Sox
it
Yankees.
was and it was Jeter, it was Brocious, it was Soriano, Posada, like all these guys. You just like you go down the whole thing and you're like,
Yeah.
not one guy in this lineup that I don't remember watching.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're like worst batter that year, had like 28 home runs. It's like Bernie Williams. You're like, that's your worst guy? It's like an aging Bernie Williams. Like, it's insane.
Seriously. I mean,
Wait, so was your favorite player Barry Bonds, Kyle? Is that what you were saying? Or is that your dad's?
No, he was out there. My favorite player was Larry Walker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, the dude just was like balls to the wall every single day. Like whenever I watched him, my dad was always like, he's like, you like watch this guy, like kind of emulate your game around what this guy does because he does majority of things correct. You know, the way he ran bases, hard out of the box. You know, never gave up on pitches. It was like always tracking balls down the outfield. Like he was like kind of one of those 5-tool players that you want to learn as much as you could.
Yeah, I was so happy that he got in the Hall of Fame because I felt like he was a guy that I guess, I don't know, because I grew up in Seattle, like we're so far away from everything. I was like, maybe only we care about Larry Walker because like I'm collecting baseball cards and I like, I didn't know he was as well received nationwide as he should be. So that made me happy that he was a Hall of Famer. Like it took Edgar forever to get in the Hall of Fame. Like it took there's a lot of these guys that don't get all the votes. So like when he got it, I was like, oh, that makes me happy.
Yeah, it was awesome that he was able to get him.
Have you ever been to one of those Hall of Fame things?
No.
No, like a acceptance or whatever the thing is.
The acceptance or the induction ceremony?
The induction.
No, we're always mid-season when that's going on.
Oh, that sucks. I've romanticized about going so many times. Like when I was like, when Edgar gets in, I'm going. I was like, when Griffey gets in, and I never went to either. I was just too busy doing drinking.
Yeah, Griffey would have been a good one to see.
Griffey would have been cool.
All right. This is a weird question. It's not a weird question. It's like one of those. Is every Major League Baseball player's dreams / goals the same? Is it like, oh, I want to win as many World Series as I can. I want to go to the Hall of Fame. Like, is that like kind of the same goal for everyone?
I think in a broad spectrum, I think if you like go like want to win as many World Series as possible, like championship wise, everyone would probably agree. But I believe that there's different agendas for every guy. For me, it's play as long as I can and win as many championships as possible. I mean, there's no individual statistics that I want. It's something that I want to go collect as many Cy Youngs as I possibly can. Like, it's nothing like that for me. I would probably believe that there's dudes out there who are like kind of selfish, where they're looking out for themselves before their team.
Especially in baseball, yeah.
In every sport, I feel like there's those guys, and you're going to run into them. But I think for majority of the league, it would probably be like, I want to play as long as I possibly can. I want to be on winning teams, and I want to win as much as possible.
Well, then you can flash the jewelry and show people, hey, what's up?
And you can be like Jordan and just have rings. I guess you can throw Brady in that mix too.
Well, but Brady and Jordan and my pops, Terry Bradshaw, they kind of annoy me in the fashion that they don't wear those rings ever. If I had the chance, it's not going to be at some fucking coffee table. I'm going to be like wearing those around, like, yep, it's me. Yes, look at this. I've earned it. I've spent my whole life. Like, when you get your World Series ring, you're going to rock it, right?
Absolutely.
You got it.
Seriously, yes.
I'm telling you. All right, what about you, David?
I mean, not getting all the way up there yet. I can't really speak on the guys in the big leagues, but just in terms of like in sports in general, kind of like Kyle was saying, everyone's got their own motivation, whether it's to earn the most money you can or the championships or like the individual stuff. I mean, I think for me, it's when I go out there, it's every start that I have, I want to give my team the best chance to win that day.
Sure.
Go as long as I can and do as well as I can to keep us in this game and try and win this game. So I think if you do that, like other things kind of snowball. So like if you go out and you're the best you can be, and at the end of the year you end up winning a Cy Young, like whether it was selfish or not, you've given your team a chance to win every 5 days.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean,
and that kind of
tie in together, but there are I've seen it growing up in sports. There can be one of those guys on a team that's selfish and can be a cancer,
Right.
kind of weigh people down. But
Well, you were talking about like you were saying like momentum or like just by doing good each day, like stuff comes. Like I know that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess what's what I'm asking is like in baseball, like if people start chirping like, oh, dude, so and so's in his zone or so and so's dialed in, like that's gonna help you get like the respect of your peers. Then gets kind of like the notice of the coaches and the manager, right? And then that gets the notice of the league. Like that stuff is, and that's why you guys are all like superstitious and shit. Is because like that kind of momentum works for. I mean, because then you get all the stuff. You get the money, you get the contract, or you get the kind of things like. So I guess that's, less of a question, but so by making the small goal, that's how you get all the other goals kind of thing?
Yeah, a lot of small things add up to big things. It's kind of, good way to put it.
In television, I was just bitching about this the other night because I have like all these famous friends and about 10% of them text me back, right? Because what happens is like television is so fleeting. Like when you're on a show, everyone's texting each other, they're flirting with each other. You have this whole thing. You're like, I was on a TV show with like Joe Jonas. And I was like, we're like best friends. I literally hung out with him every single day for like months. But then the second that the show's over, I go to a different show and then he goes to a different project and like what. So it's like very like in television, it's very fleeting. You kind of have these like really close relationships and these close like things. And then it's like a marriage there's going to be a guaranteed kind of divorce, like these like short things. And so you're always kind of popping around and doing these things. Are the teams kind of like that? Like when you have like a good friend like on the Rockies, but then he gets shipped off to Atlanta, you're like, I'm probably going to see him now like 8 times in the season maximum. And then we might see each other in the off. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's very similar where, you have your tight-knit group of guys that you talk to on a consistent basis regardless of where you are. And then you have guys who, on a team who are really good friends of yours, but now they've, been traded or released and picked up somewhere else, something like that. And they're on a different team and the relationship isn't lost, but the communication is not as consistent as it used to be just because you're on the same teams. So like kind of similar to you speaking, like we'll run into each other, 3-4 times a year, in series and stuff. And, you'll catch up, you'll say hi, you'll do your thing just because you're friends. But yeah, like you said, it's when you're not together all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's going to break off.
Which fans hate seeing, by the way. Like I'm trying to think of a good example, like Stanton, right? Like when he went to the Yankees, like, and they play Miami, like, or if they, for whatever reason, and then you see him going up and like hugging on some of the like Miami players, like the fans like, what? No, like you can't be friends with those guys. They're the enemy now. They got, they're not on the team anymore. So fans somewhat hate that. They like it if it's like respectful, like if it wasn't like a bad, I remember when Tino Martinez left the Mariners, and I was just hoping when we played the Yankees that like they would plunk his ass like every at bat, and everybody like gave him a standing ovation. It was very corny, and then Tino comes out and he's waving, and everyone. I was like, he left us to go to the Yankees. It's like rooting for your ex-wife. It's like, what are you doing? I hate this guy. Hit him in the ear. That's what I was. But I was,
I was. And that coming from a fan's perspective, like they want to see like all they like. I guess kind of care about is I just want to see my team win.
Right. We live in fan world.
Yes.
Like we always hope athletes would just subscribe to it a little bit. Like when Richard Sherman went to the San Francisco 49ers, he made this like whole tweet. He's like, hey, you guys didn't want me. You guys didn't want me. And you're like, yeah, but here's the thing. You could have went to any other team. You chose to go to San Francisco to be petty. That's like being like you're like, if I break up with a girl and then she has sex with my best friend. It was like, when I'm single, you're like, yeah, but you intentionally did that. You knew what you were doing. You knew exactly what you're doing. You're trying to break our hearts. And it's like so frustrating. At least when A-Rod came back, we booed him pretty good in Seattle. Yeah, it's tricky. So then given with the last question I asked you, who is like I don't know how you guys met. You said you grew up in Denver. You guys played on the same team together?
No, you're what, 3 years younger than me?
Yeah.
He's 3 years younger than me. We met through his trainer who trained him in high school and like throughout college. I met him through that trainer. So we started working out together, and that's how our relationship develops, and just over the past few years since he was in college and then drafted and working his way through the minor leagues, see each other on a pretty consistent basis in Denver, out in Arizona.
Nice. Well, so who's your best friend in baseball? Like, do you have like it's probably another pitcher, right?
I mean, me and Hoffman are pretty tight.
Right.
But one dude, like in the Rockies, he's one of the veterans that kind of took me under his wing, was Ian Desmond, and I got to develop a good relationship with him.
Nice.
Cool, smart dude. He's been around a while. He knows what he's doing. He's just all around like good guy.
Oh yeah, I love that. What about you, David?
I think for me, kind of back to the last question, I think you guys kind of nailed it with the separation. Like, you go up separate ways. One of my really good buddies since I've been in pro ball is actually Justin Dunn, who came over to Mariners in the Cano Diaz deal.
That's how I know him.
Yeah, and so he and I and a couple other guys, like, he's one of the cases where he left and we're still, like, that friendship has continued in terms of the consistency of, I got to talk to him at some point through, whether it be social media or text or call, like, every week.
Nice.
But then there's other guys where, like you said, you think you're really good friends with, and it kind of just, because of the way life goes, you kind of end up not talking as much and stuff like that. Like, you have a locker room full of guys that you're on a mission with, that,
Sure.
And now that they're not a part of that, it's
it sucks. People always text me like, "Hey, I'm going to Dierks Bentley's concert. Can you text me? I want to go backstage." And I'm like, "Dude, do you realize, like, when I text Dierks Bentley, I get like, for every 20 texts I send Dierks, he replies to like 1, maybe 2, and it's always like real brief. It's like, we knew each other for like a small moment of time. It's not, and it's like so like, it's kind of humiliating too. You're like, we'll see if he replies, and everyone's like, I thought you guys were boys. I was like, I mean, sort of. There was a moment of time, but not anymore. It's kind of weird. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but I wanted to ask you guys. This must be the weirdest thing you guys have ever faced and had in your career, right?
Yeah, 100%.
To just like have, like, how did you hear that they were shutting down the baseball season because of the coronavirus?
So, we probably have 2 different stories on that. So for me, it was like, obviously, like, coronavirus started back in like December or something like that is when it was first like discovered. And so obviously, like, the nation was keeping an eye on it, and like media keeping an eye on it, and we just like consistently saw it grow. And then spring training started, and we had like our, coronavirus meeting, like, if you're going to sign for fans, use your own pen, or don't sign at all, be smart, wash your hands, be healthy. If you're sick at all, like, contact us, make sure we're taking the proper steps. And then it kind of seemed like within like 24 hours, an explosion just happened. We're sitting in the clubhouse, and it rained here in Arizona, so our game got canceled.
Weird.
And before everyone was packing up, they came in and announced, like, hey, spring training's banged for the time being. We're like, what just happened?
Yeah, how long is it gonna rain?
Seriously. Like, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be over tomorrow. But no, it was wild. We're like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm preparing for a start. Like, I was supposed to be pitching the next day. I'm like, well, that's not happening anymore.
Right.
But, it seemed like 24 hours, just the whole script got flipped.
It's so weird. Like, just to have no baseball right now is the weirdest thing, like, in my life. Like, I feel like a little uneasy when baseball's not on. Like, there's like only a few months where there's not baseball, and I'm always like, yeah, it just feels – I play a lot of video game baseball and shit. Like, I don't even have to be watching a game. I just kind of like a game being on. It feels like weird right now. There's like no basketball, no baseball, no anything. How did you hear about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been so weird, especially because we were in the off season, and then you go to spring training, and as starters, like, we're starting to get ramped up. We're throwing more and more innings, and then it's just like shut it down. But yeah, mine was pretty quick as well. We had a team meeting with our like medical coordinator basically, and he had said, like, we got off a call with the MLB, and the CDC, and this is kind of what they're telling us to do in terms of like precautions, like Kyle said, wash your hands, all that stuff that everyone's been putting out there.
Sure.
And if you feel sick, come tell us. And then we had like 3 days later, they were just like, we're done.
It's so weird.
And we actually had, so Donovan Mitchell for the Jazz, his dad works in our community relations department, and he had just come back from seeing Donovan when the whole thing went down. So he got back like 2 days before the NBA got shut down, and then it came out that he had tested positive for it, and then we found out that his dad was going to get tested to see if he had it, and he brought it back. It was like, I mean, it was kind of crazy. Everyone was waiting to see, like, because he's always in the locker room. He grabs guys for appearances and stuff like that. So like, he's always around. So it was kind of like an in-house thing of like, hold breaks, like, what's the situation here?
That's insane. So as like, I know I saw a video of you earlier playing like wiffle ball. I think it was wiffle ball, right?
Yeah, wiffle ball.
Yeah, just like throwing the wiffle ball around with your girlfriend. But what are you guys doing to stay fresh? Is there anything? Or are you guys just kind of chilling, and then when they get the call, then you'll start really conditioning?
Yeah, we're doing everything we can right now. We're actually kind of fortunate. One of the reasons that he's out in Arizona living with me. We have a facility out here that we know the guy who owns it.
Nice.
Basically a weight room for us to go and lift at. So he's like full private. But we're able to get in there, get our lifts in, and then we're throwing pretty much every single day, keeping our arms going, and we're working on finding a portable pitching mound. So if any of your fans are listening to this,
what is a portable pitching mound?
It's just like, it's basically wood with turf on it.
Okay.
And, I mean, like,
And I'm
so
down.
with a rubber on it, with a proper slope.
I know a guy.
You know a guy?
I know a guy for sure.
I'm fully working on it right now.
I'll text you, and he's in Arizona, so it works out perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. You've probably met him actually at one of the comedy shows.
Who?
His name is Zach, and he works for the San Diego Padres. He's like the equipment guy, but he works in the facility in Peoria for the Mariners and the.
I think I remember, yeah.
Yeah, great guy, but he has all that shit. Like, that's how I have all this crap. Like, he'll just send me anything. I'm like, I need this, and he's like, I got you. And like, because you guys, you're like used to going in and you can get like a helmet or whatever the hell you need. Guys like me aren't used to that. So he like puts me in this room. He's like, you want any of this shit? I'm like, I want all this stuff. Batting gloves. Like, it's all, we're like children when we go in there.
Oh, yeah, so we're kind of fortunate, but that's just like the one missing piece that we're using all of our outlets to try and get. So yeah.
I got a guy. I'll shoot it over. Well, I love that you guys are staying fresh. Thanks for hopping on here. I'm telling you, like, I can't tell you how excited I was when you said that you were going to do this, because I was like, man, baseball players are always so afraid to talk on this stuff. Well, because you just don't want to get in trouble. So it's like I always I was just happy to have you. Thanks for popping on here. I might come out to Arizona soon. I got nothing to do for 30 days.
Feel free to come join us. I mean, we're losing our minds out here.
And actually, wiffle ball might be the one thing I can hold my own with you guys.
Here we go.
There you go.
At least when wiffle ball.
I mean, 5.5 hour drive, man.
That's easy. That's no sweat. No sweat. All right. Thanks, you guys. I love you guys. Thanks for being on it.
See you, Jeff. Thanks.
Appreciate you, dudes.
Fucking nerd.
I heard that. How about that? These guys are the best. So fun. I will say Kyle Freeland called me a nerd. He thought we logged off. I hit end, and then I could still see them, but they couldn't see me. But I could still, see and hear everything. And he goes, what a nerd. He called me a nerd right when we clicked out. I don't appreciate that. I am a nice man. I am an older. You're supposed to respect your elders. I know. I act younger than you, and I'm less mature, but, I'm not a nerd. Or maybe I am a nerd. I have baseball cards and toys. And you know what, Kyle? You're right. Probably am a nerd. I love you, buddy. Thanks for doing the podcast. Big shout out to both of you guys. Hopefully baseball starts up soon. You guys won't have to, you won't have to wait no longer to do our sport that we love, and I can come root for you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I love you guys so much. Big shout out to Major League Baseball for allowing this. Big shout out to Kyle and David for doing it. Big shout out to All Things Comedy, which is where you can hear all these episodes and see all these episodes. Big shout out to all my Patreon subscribers. We love you guys. If you'd like to be a Patreon subscriber, it's $10 a month. You can watch every podcast when it comes out each week. You get extra little goodies. You get free tickets to all my stand-up comedy shows, which is you show up to a date, and I'm there for you. Also, if you guys are looking for something to listen to during quarantine, my album Live from Madison is available for download on the internet. Download that, have a laugh, make you forget about all this coronavirus stress. It's, pretty affordable CD, and it gives you an hour of laughs that you can kind of forget about what we're going through currently. I love you guys. Stay positive. Stay strong. We're going to get through this. Earth strong, dude. Earth strong. Just be patient. Wait it out. Stay indoors. Wash your hands. Don't go mingling with people. Don't have a party. Just be good. I love every single one of you, and we'll see you again next week with a low technological podcast.
Friendship